This is the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast. Hello, world, and welcome to the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast, a new audio series of lighthearted and sometimes third eye-opening conversations on a variety of topics from the African-American perspective. I am your host, Phylanice Nashe. Welcome. On this episode, we are talking about a super successful criminal justice program that was started right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and for the last 6 years has been teaching business and entrepreneurial skills to incarcerated citizens and has been using cutting-edge technology in the form of tablets to deliver that content. The program is called BEST. BEST stands for Building Entrepreneurs for Success in Tennessee. BEST, some statistics. BEST has graduated 99 students, of which 52 men and women have been released and successfully reentered back into society. BEST is successfully returning citizens to our communities and is reducing recidivism at a rate that beats both the national and the state of Tennessee's recidivism rates. BEST has an 81% successful reentry rate, which far exceeds the typical 54% rate for those living or leaving Tennessee prisons. And so this program and our guest today is both near and dear to my heart. I was blessed to serve as the organization's first board president, and I've had the honor and the pleasure of working very, very closely with Karen. And so my guest today is the co-founder of BEST, and she has served as the executive director of the program since its inception, and she has recently transitioned into the role of director of graduate support. I want everyone to give a very warm welcome to Karen Vander Molen. Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
Hey, Phil, thank you so much. Doing great. Really, really appreciate you having me on.
Well, I am glad you accepted to come on. I think everyone needs to know about our program and what it does. We don't get to talk about it enough to the public. So our country has a prison problem, and recidivism is defined as the tendency to relapse into previous conditions or behavior, especially relapsing into criminal behavior. And that sends people who have come out back into prison. And so the studies have shown that post-secondary education is a proven and powerful part of reducing recidivism rates. And so BEST, the program BEST, has tackled this recidivism problem by empowering and returning citizens to either obtaining jobs when they return or the ability to create their own business. So Karen, let's kind of dive right on into BEST and what the program entails. So it's more than just a business plan, correct?
Absolutely. BEST it does work with entrepreneurship, and we do teach that, but we don't start with that. For the first 3 months together, out of our entire six-month program, we really focus more on personal development and transformation. We speak about needing heads and hearts to be in the right place before we work on teaching people how to be better entrepreneurs. We do this in a variety of ways. We spend the first 3 months together focused on our 10 best values, which are listed on our website, which people can go and check that out when they're ready. And as we go through every week, we focus on one of those 10 best values. One of the things that we do that's really fun and impactful is we identify a movie every week that really features something about that value. One of the first ones that we show is based on the value confidence and a fresh start. Because if you are sitting in prison and you think my life is over, I'll never be able to create a good life for myself, we need to reframe that and change your mind about it. So we use the movie Tommy Boy, which on the face of it is just a hilarious comedy, and we laugh when we watch it, but afterwards, we dive deep into a discussion about how Tommy Boy transformed from a ne'er-do-well entitled, do nothing kind of person to a go-getter and a lot of self-confidence. We also use this to begin speaking about business ideas, because he becomes a very confident salesperson after starting out disastrously, but he learned. And so once we do this with a few films, the class starts to really take in video and visual content and process it and think about it differently. Very, very powerful. We also have the program Toastmasters. They have a gavel club system that allows us to do Toastmasters while they're incarcerated. This is a program where they learn how to create and deliver speeches, is one of the main thrusts, but it has a lot of other benefits too. They become very good listeners, and they learn to give confident and positive feedback in this process. It's really been an amazing personal change happens as they go through this. We have different books that we work with. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We have a curriculum called Ignite, which gives them more soft skills. And we also use a book called Houses of Healing, which helps them deal with the wounded inner child that really all of us have. In many of their cases, that child has been severely wounded, and it helps them really deal with their past in a positive way. The second part of the curriculum starts in about January, and that's where we start having them work on their business plans and financial literacy skills, as well as nonviolent communication skills.
Sorry, I had one of my kids just bebop by here, and the one who's taking Harvard online, he just took a chemistry test, and he's like I think I did well. So good job, babe. Yeah. I'm in Harvard too. I'm studying chemistry with them over the weekend. So I'm like, we did well. So talk a little bit. So I just want to make sure everyone is clear about this program. This is behind the wall, correct? This
Correct.
is being done behind the wall in a prison setting, in an area where this group of men and or women are brought together. Can you talk a little bit about how a person is able to participate, and also hone in on the fact that this is open to any incarcerated individual in the state of Tennessee?
Well, yes and no. We do have some parameters that we're working with.
Right.
Because after going through our program, we're really hoping that they are going to be released within a relatively short period of time. And by that, I mean within 3 years from finishing the program. Because when they get all this education, they get all pumped up. If they were to stay incarcerated for another 5 to 10, 20 years, the effects are probably going to dissipate. We really want them to come on out and start using these skills. So we're looking for individuals who have not had any Class A disciplinaries within the last year. And that's the most severe level of infraction. They do need to have a high school level education, be it a GED or HiSET or a high school diploma. Some of the materials we use are actually college level materials. And we're not about frustrating people. We're about empowering people. Then that we're also looking at that time limit. But here's what really separates those who are truly ready and dedicated to change their lives and those who maybe they're just not ready. They have to complete a 10-page application, which is pretty much unheard of in an incarcerated situation. But if they do that, and they are one of the 20 individuals selected to be in the cohort, because we start together, we finish together, they are going to be transferred to the Tennessee Prison for Women at this point and come to class 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 months.
That's
Very
amazing.
intense.
Yeah,
Very
that is.
intense.
It
But,
is.
but
And
they love it.
and can you and this is free to the inmates. There's no cost, monetary cost to them, correct?
That's correct.
And so one of the things, and I'm going to jump around a little bit, but that's one of the things that I want the listeners to know is that there is no cost to this to an inmate who wants to participate in this program. This organization has been living as a 501c3 for the last couple of years now, based on the donations of people who believe in this program and the results that this program provides. And so the main piece is, the ability to get a job or to start a business. So can you talk about the portion that deals with entrepreneurship and the writing of the business plan that they have when they graduate?
Absolutely. For the last couple of years, we've had some amazing women, Diane Canada and Jana Landry, come in and teach the entrepreneurship piece of the curriculum, helping the class understand what are those decisions and considerations that you have to do in order to create a viable business plan. Although they're incarcerated, we do have the ability to create pretty realistic plans in this process. And we also, in that process, we have partnered with Belmont University. There's a class that is held in the spring, Entrepreneurship 3800. So that's filled with students who are business/entrepreneur majors typically.
Right.
And as part of their class, they come to prison one of the days every week and are paired with our students one-on-one. And so the Belmont students, we call them our entrepreneurs, are able to come out and do research and gather the demographic information, gather industry reports, and just get real life, real time information that they can bring in and work with my students on making all those different plans. It's really pretty cool.
It is. And I know for a fact that the program is not just made up of you being the sole individual that pours into these women. You are the main individual, but it takes a lot of volunteers to kind of make up the ecosystem that pours into every class. Can you talk about how many volunteers and the backgrounds of the volunteers and how do they fit into the curriculum?
Absolutely. You're 100% right. I am more like the ringmaster of, of the circus, if you will, with all sorts of different individuals coming in to share their entrepreneurial stories. I always tell our entrepreneurs, I really want you to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship, because it's not all ponies and rainbows for sure. But
Definitely not.
no. But we've had everybody from Vanderbilt professors who come in and help us work through a philosophy of life.
Mm-hmm.
We have very prominent entrepreneurs from the area come in. Peter Markham, who is the principal at Dev Digital. We've had the Tennessean of the Year. At the time, Dr. Michael Burcham came in and visited. We've had Mark Cleveland, who is Entrepreneur of the Year a few years back. And one of our most internationally renowned individuals who connected up with our class was one of only two people who Zig Ziglar, possibly one of the most well-known motivational speakers and authors, he only mentored two people. And one of them was Chris Dunham, who lives in Texas, but through J.R. Davis, who lives in this area, he made the connection. Chris came in and spoke with the class for about 2.5 hours one one day in December. And before I knew it, the class was asking him to come back. Who knew?
Nice.
He came back in February and spent an entire day with the class. In addition, he brought his wife
Oh,
and she goes
nice.
to the class too. That was her first time to ever be in any prison. And we just blew her away with how gracious and hospitable the class was. But we have professional trainers and educators who help pour in, like you say, pour into this class, and it makes a huge difference. Over the course of this past 6 years, we've had well over 250 different people come in and share with us. It's That's one of the elements of our secret sauce, I think, in
I
the
agree.
best is so impactful.
I
Because
agree.
when somebody from the outside comes in and they don't have to be there, those who are incarcerated know and appreciate that so very much.
Hmm.
It's just incredibly impactful.
I agree. And I have to take my hat off to you for coordinating and reaching out and building these relationships with these people locally and not locally who have grasped what is going on here and have come in to talk to the students. Um, can you talk a little bit about the tablets that you use? So there are some tablets that are part of the course, and they carry some of the curriculum on there. Can you talk about how those are used in the curriculum and the delivery of the classwork?
Absolutely. We were the first program in the state of Tennessee to be given permission to use electronic tablets to help deliver the curriculum,
Yeah.
which was amazingly awesome. It's been such a wonderful part of this program and really sets our students up for success. On the tablets, we've loaded everything from TED Talks, which are so beneficial,
Mm-hmm.
to a wide variety of documents that the men and women have been able to read through, reference, learn from. It's just been a blessing to have that technology available. Plus, it gives them an exposure to technology
Mm-hmm.
that we have all around us out here. And it's been phenomenal. And we really appreciate those. Were donated by IDS, and which has now been purchased by GTL. And
Correct.
those that resource was such a treasure. I hated to pull them back or collect them at the end of this cohort because I knew how important that was to them.
Yeah, those if yes, the expansion of tablet technology in corrections is allowing the use more on a 24/7 basis. So I'm hoping that for this particular program that will happen.
I hope
Um,
so too.
and so I want to kind of move to the culmination of the program. What does this program culminate in a graduation at the end of the 6 months after they've gone through the different phases and have delivered and put together a business plan? Is there a presentation of those plans, and how does this all kind of culminate and come together?
It does culminate and come together in a variety of ways normally. Now, everybody gets their own copy, a bound copy of the Time Magazine Woman of the Year that each one of them has written throughout the first phase. So they write usually an article a week, and we collect those, bind them, and everything's typed up because we do go to the computer lab at the prison. In addition, they have their copy of their business plan, and some resource materials are also bound into this document that each one of them will receive. So it's highly personalized and very special. Normally, we've had a graduation event at the prison that was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Joy, joy, joy. Happy faces, volunteers, family members. People came, I've had people come from Colorado to be part of our graduation celebration. And unlike a normal graduation, at our graduations, every one of the students speaks to this group of 100, usually 120, 130 people. But that's where they can use their Toastmaster skills. So it really makes a difference.
And so you mentioned people coming from across. So there's family and friends at this graduation. Family, friends, entrepreneurs, people who have volunteered, all come together at the end, and it's cap and gown. I've been to multiple graduations. It is cap and gown. It is very emotional because this is a huge achievement for these men and women.
It truly is a huge achievement, and they are so proud of having met the challenge of creating the business plan, of doing all this work and the reading and creating these very special documents. Absolutely.
So let's move to the next phase. I think this is phase 5 or 6, where they actually are paroled, right? Like you said, they're part of the criteria is to be within so many years of parole eligibility. But we have had graduates that we've interacted with post-release. Can you just talk about some of the successes that has happened since the program's had students that have been released?
Yes. I've got so many stories, so it's hard to choose, but one that I'd like to share is the story of Ginger, who on the first day of the class in her cohort, she was actually not there that morning because she had a parole hearing. And at the parole hearing, she told the hearing officer, please, I don't want to be paroled. I'm in this class called BEST, and I know I need it. And so they did allow her to stay, and she completed the class. When she came out, unfortunately, initially, she did kind of have some issues with drugs. But when she went up before the magistrate at that point, instead of throwing her back in prison, they allowed her to participate in drug court. She did that. She totally nailed it. She didn't have any sanctions. She graduated from that. And very shortly thereafter, she had the opportunity to apply for a job with the state of Tennessee. She had to give a 10-minute PowerPoint presentation. So she used her PowerPoint skills that she learned in BEST. She used her Toastmaster skills that she learned in BEST. She must have just blown them away because they offered her the job. So now she's got a job with the state of Tennessee with benefits, paying expenses, all and training as well. And so she laughed and she said, Ms. Karen, I've gone from the state pen to working for the state 10.
I love it.
So she's just doing very, very well. Another amazing graduate is Ashley. Ashley has become quite a mover and shaker in the field of juvenile justice and juvenile justice reform. She is a huge believer in and proponent of restorative justice. So she's been working very diligently in this field and changing the lives of juveniles so that instead of going down that route of becoming incarcerated and getting swallowed up by that system, they're diverted to doing a juvenile restorative justice process, which is undoubtedly changing lives.
Yep.
Very proud of that. Then we have Kelly. Kelly has taken some of the parts of BEST and just magnified, and she's a living example of how if you plan for success and set the goals, you can achieve your dreams. So when she came out, she got a job in her area, which is a manicurist. She worked at the Relash Spa at Gaylord Opry Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
She completed her manicuring credentials, manicurist credentials. She's gotten jobs at nail salons. And along with that, she has really improved her credit score.
That's
Very,
important.
it sure is. She's been very intentional about learning how to do that and then implementing it. So she just takes such delight in setting a goal for herself and working the steps, achieving the goal, and then she'll set another goal and
Right.
just kind of keep raising the bar. So Kelly's just done a fantastic job. Then we have Tiffany. Oh my gosh, within 3 months of release, she was saving up to get a car. She got an apartment and she started her cleaning business. Now, that's pretty aggressive timeline for
That
starting
is.
her own business. But she got some great contracts, made some wonderful connections, and at points in time, she's had so much business, she's had to hire people to help her. So she is a go-getter.
So, Karen, you have given us some really good examples of what BEST has meant and how it's impacted some of the students' lives. But can you give us another example of, exactly what BEST means to some of what the students, what the students are and how they feel about BEST?
Yes, I found a piece written by a cohort 6 graduate. So we just saw each other this past spring. Her name's Lou. And here's what she writes about BEST. This was in her Time magazine, and she does give me permission to share it. BEST Cohort 6 is where it all began. In October 2019, I became part of this program, this life-changing program, and it will always be a part of my testimony. BEST is unlike any program I've ever been a part of. I was in a dark place in 2019, an addict, lost in the nothingness, suffocating by my own hands, engulfed in a numb, complacent pain. I had given up on recovery and rehabilitation into society. I've been locked up since I was a juvenile and had no idea, direction, or hope. BEST changed all of that. BEST motivated me to become sober and stay sober. The program also motivated me to be my best self and pursue the life I want to live rather than the one I used to believe I was destined for. Now, I want to set and achieve goals and strive to my maximum potential every day. I have new ways of thinking and viewing and understand a whole lot more about running life and not letting it run me. I have a new healing, hope, and purpose. I'm glad to say that I'm ready to be my best. BEST believed in me. And the sentiments here are very, very widespread. There's an incredible attitude of gratitude and an attitude of, oh my gosh, I can reach my dreams. I can reach my goals. I can achieve if I accept the challenges. And they do.
They do. And I can just say from my personal experience with BEST, going all the way back to cohort 1, where it was the men's group that graduated first, that story, it repeats over and over and over again. You see the transformation from, and I've had the blessing to be able to go into classes at the beginning and then be at the graduation and have a point in the middle where I come in and, speak with and talk with the students. And it is transformative. And that story repeats itself over and over and over again. That just speaks to the power of the program, the people that pour into the students, and just the full support of the community as a whole into this program. So let's talk numbers, right? So a lot of people, they're always about numbers and what are the outcomes of a program, right? So can you tell us, again, I mentioned at the top some stats, but can you just give us the numbers of the impact that BEST has had on recidivism and keeping the graduates out once they return?
Thank you. Yes. In the state of Tennessee, for every 100 people who leave incarcerated situations, within 3 years, 46 or 47 of them, almost 50%, are reincarcerated. I found that to be outrageous. And when I first presented this to, at the time, Commissioner Derek Schofield, I promised that we would reduce that recidivism rate. We would reduce the return rate by at least half, and we've done better than that. Because at this point, out of the graduates who have been released, and that's a total of 64 individuals, men and women, 12 of them have gone back into an incarcerated setting, be it jail or prison, that I'm aware of.
Right.
And that gives us an 81% success rate, which is far better than the state of Tennessee, 54%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that represents tax consumers who are now taxpayers. That represents broken families. Now families have been restored. It represents people who didn't have jobs and now they do have jobs. And as employees, because we've spent so much time thinking about building your own business and what it's like to be a business owner, they have a perspective on being an employer and employee that most people never really delve into.
Right.
And I would argue for many cases, they're better employees than average Joe Blow person.
Do you know offhand how many graduates who have transitioned and are returned citizens that have actually started businesses?
I don't have solid numbers on that. My best guess is around 12 of them out of the 64 who've been released. And some were released a month ago out of that number.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But others, our longest release person has now been out over 5 years, but about 12 to one degree or another.
And can you talk about the core of those businesses? What types of businesses have been begun or started?
They seem to be service-related businesses, you know, like the cleaning, manicurist, hairdresser, barber individuals. And let's see, we've got one who is a social media business out of Knoxville.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have the caterer, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Catering. Yeah, a lot of service-oriented types of businesses. And my heart in this COVID time that we're in right now, my heart has really gone out to those in those fields because that's been such a huge impact.
Yeah.
Ability to do it. But
it has. And I'm praying that everyone's been able to pivot and be able to, continue to provide for their family, because that's one of the premises of just even talking about entrepreneurship is the fact that, there are so many obstacles that you face upon release. Many of that dealing with employment and the lack of, employers wanting to hire returned citizens. Entrepreneurship is being a meaningful way to be able to return and then provide for your family. So I'm praying that everyone who has graduated from BEST and has been returned is able to find their way through this difficult time of COVID. So Karen, I want my listeners to find out from you how they can follow the program. Can you just tell us a little bit about the website, the newsletter, and how they can just kind of keep in touch and follow the progress of the program?
Thank you. Yes, we have a website, www.besttennessee.org. And there we've got different resources. You can get more details about the different phases. We have a running list of who's been released,
Mm-hmm.
and in some cases what they're up to. We've had 10 people have gotten married. That's just the ones I know about. I do know something about most of the released graduates, but it's totally up to them whether or not they reach back and start that contact.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a Facebook page. If you do a search on best dash building entrepreneurs for success, you don't have to type everything because it'll come up, but
Right.
starts out with best. And we've got a LinkedIn page that's new for us, but we'll get some information up there too.
Good, good, good. And also on the website, you can also find the photos of the current members of the board. And they are working very, very hard to continue to raise the funds to push this program forward. There have been some changes. Like I said, Karen has transitioned into graduation support. And then a new president has stepped in, Lauren. And then a new executive director. Can you tell us a little bit about our new executive director?
Yes, Emily O'Malley Larson is one of the first 4 founders. Basically, there were 4 women who met as perfect strangers at a conference at Vanderbilt University in 2013. And we started mulling this idea of we need something different to be happening so that this recidivism issue that we're experiencing is addressed. Emily was one of those individuals. At that point, she worked for TDOC, the Department of Correction, and is so well positioned to come in as the executive director. And she's going to be phenomenal in that role. And she's working on a master's right now in social work at Trevecca. And her life experiences are just so inspiring, and she's going to be a phenomenal ED. So
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. She's all for the program, all for the fighting for criminal justice reform. So she's going to be a perfect successor to you. She's got big shoes to fill, Karen.
Thank you. I really couldn't think of anybody else that I've ever met who I would prefer over her. I mean, there are some phenomenal folks out there, but she's just got the whole package.
Agreed. So Karen, I really want to thank you for coming and being on the show and sharing about BEST. I want to thank all of my listeners for tuning in and listening to the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast. But before we go, I want to encourage each of you to make a monetary donation to the BEST program. If you go to the website that Karen just previously mentioned, besttn.org, and click on the donation button. Like I mentioned before, and like Karen said, this is free to the students. They do not pay for this. This is a program that is open to them, but it costs money to run. And so a donation of any amount is welcome and appreciated. Also, sign up for the newsletter. Go to the same webpage and fill out the contact form at the bottom of the webpage to get connected in to BEST and their and the newsletter that comes out, and just keep up to date as to what's going on with the program and how the students and graduates are doing. And then finally, if you are in the Nashville area, or even if you're not, once the program gets running again with cohort 7, once we get through this COVID, which I know we will, the next cohort, it will be cohort 7. And we would love to have you volunteer, come in and speak about your entrepreneurship experiences. So if you want to become a partner with BEST for cohort 7 programming or graduate support services, contact Karen at development@besttn.org. That email again is development@besttn.org. And so again, Karen, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Phil. This has been a delight.
And so as it relates to my show, listeners, search Phylanice Nashe Experience on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. I want you to subscribe, like, comment, and rate my show. Sister needs some ratings, so go on there and rate the show. And also go to the website, phylanicenasheexperience.com, for all of the show notes, the social media links, and any of the resources that we've talked about here on the episode. And I just want everyone to stay safe. Wear your masks, stay well. Peace.